everyone, today's video shall be a comparison between NUS Law and SMU Law. I need to qualify myself first because I did not go to NUS Law, so everything that I understand about NUS Law is superficial, just based on my observation of what my friends who went to NUS Law shared with me. If you are an NUS Law student and you strongly disagree with anything I've said about NUS Law, or there are some major inaccuracies, please just feel free to leave a comment down below and also forgive me for the mistake. The simple answer is NUS, especially if you're considering worldwide. NUS started way earlier than SMU and it is definitely more reputable, like people know about NUS. I think in Singapore, it really depends because I believe that the SMU alumni have set a pretty good track record and give employers a good enough impression of the school such that I don't find that employers certainly discriminate against SMU students. Employers are generally quite fair, but I must say I think there's the general human bias, which is that if your boss or your potential boss is someone who studied in NUS, they will tend to hire or favour somebody from NUS. Likewise, if your boss studied in the UK, or like example from Bristol, they will also favour someone from Bristol. So it's like a human bias, I guess. But I must put it out there that there is a common perception that people who end up in SMU Law were actually rejected by NUS Law. And unfortunately, I must say this perception is not entirely false. There are people who were accepted by both and who decided to choose SMU Law, and there are also people who got accepted by NUS Law and rejected by SMU Law. But generally across my batch, when I asked the people around me, most of us did not get an offer from NUS Law. So I must say that this perception is not entirely false. But I think the more important question is, does a rejection by NUS Law suggest that you are any worse than someone who got accepted by NUS Law? And I believe that the answer is no, because, not speaking for myself, but just an observation of my peers, I have seen extremely brilliant people who did not get a spot in NUS Law. They are extremely brilliant, extremely bright, sharp, and they really make good lawyers. So a rejection by NUS Law does not lead to the necessary conclusion that this student would not be a good lawyer or just didn't make the cut. This one NUS wins as well. I think students in NUS will have a better quality of life and lower stress just based on the requirements that we have. SMU has way more requirements. I think I mentioned in one of my other videos that project work is in almost every single mod and it takes up a lot of time, which means you are juggling a lot of things at the same time. You are trying to do your reading so that you can participate in class, and you are trying to complete your project work. Sometimes you may also have other research paper requirements. This was a requirement in my time that I think we had to do at least 5 research papers to graduate from law school. Some of us may even end up doing more just because it happens to be the requirement of the module. And all these are ongoing, always at the same time. Project work, research paper, midterms, class parts. And you spend a lot of time drowning in your readings because some professors just do not provide you with any lecture notes. I know in NUS they have this thing called the NUS muggers, and it probably works for NUS students, but in SMU the mods are very prof-centered in that the prof that teaches you is the prof that marks your paper, and the prof that teaches you is probably also the one who sets the questions. I know there are exceptions where certain profs do come together to set a common question for everyone taking the mod across the board, but generally that is the case, that the prof who teaches you will set your question and will mark the paper. So your scope of examinable topics and your prof's opinions and all that will vary accordingly. So you cannot simply use a set of muggers to excel. Your notes from a different prof teaching the same mod for the same batch might not even work for you and might not even help you score an A. Like the same set of notes may score you an A for this prof, but it may not score you an A for another prof. Because of that, you tend to spend a lot of time doing your readings and making your notes. And on top of all the things that I mentioned, there are also non-academic requirements like community service and internship. So there is always some form of stress in that you need to ensure that you are able to secure an internship if not you cannot graduate, and you also need to be able to complete the specified weeks of community service. And you have to be strategic in terms of when you do all these things. Like if you're doing your internship one holiday, you can't also be doing community service at the same time. So just by the number of requirements and the rigor of all these requirements, I feel that the quality of life of an SMU law student is generally lower than that of an NUS law student. SMU wins this one. So it's really linked to what I said earlier on the requirements. Because of the requirements, you do actually end up participating in more activities. For instance, for community service, many people do go for overseas community service programs because it's like a quick and fast way to satisfy your requirement, in that you can just go overseas for perhaps a period of 2 to 3 weeks and your community service requirement will be met. Another reason why I feel that generally you have more opportunities in SMU is just because of the fewer number of students in the school. There are sufficient opportunities for the number of students that are in SMU. So because SMU is quite young, I feel that they're generally quite open to people suggesting new initiatives, new things. If you were to propose something, it is more likely to be welcomed. One example I had was my scholar friends decided to start a new initiative to help women in India. The scholars department was so open to our suggestion that we pioneered this initiative. And I believe that it's still ongoing for the subsequent batches of scholars. So this is what I mean by, I think SMU is likely to be more open to new things. I think NUS wins on this one because NUS Law students do not have to do core modules, which if you watch my previous videos on my first and second semester in SMU Law, I did comment that some of them were really a complete waste of time. But yeah, NUS Law students do not have to go through this, so I must say that in that sense, their learning is more efficient. They don't have to waste time studying subjects that are inconsequential. I think SMU wins on this in that the competition is less rigorous in SMU. It's quite hard to objectively say where the competition is worse, but SMU really accepts a variety of people. NUS only gives you an interview if you score at least 5 A's and above, but SMU is more open. They accept people with a wider range of grades. They even accept students from Polytechnic, from NAFA. There is really a wide range of students, not all are muggers. Just by the nature of the people that SMU Law accepts, I feel that there is a really good range, such that if you are a mugger, you are unlikely to be at the bottom of the bell curve. I think SMU wins this one because the SMU Law life actually really mimics your work life, in that at work you are required to be very on the ball, very up to speed, and you are expected to be able to do things quickly and accurately. So I guess this is what SMU really trains you for. Also the whole process of making your own notes, of studying the law, of understanding the law, you have really no choice but to learn the difficult way, which I feel is very similar to how work functions. At the same time, I also feel that if work is going to be so tough, then maybe it's not worth it for school to be so tough as well, right? It is really up to your own personal preference, like whether you want to have a taste of this rigor, or whether you prefer to stay chill for 4 years before you have to face this rigor head on. SMU wins this as well. I think especially if you're doing a double degree, which I did, because all the school buildings are basically just within walking distance. There's no need for you to travel from, like, say, Bukit Timah to the actual NUS campus if you're doing a second degree. In SMU, it's really very easy for you to go for classes that are not from law school. So if you want to do a major, I have friends who did a major in psychology or major in finance, even though they were not doing a double degree. So it was just out of interest. On top of that, facilities are also all within the same region. You have your gym, you have the pool, you have essentially everything you need in the school is just within walking distance. It's so funny how I never actually explored the SMU gym for maybe like 2-3 years, and I only discovered it in year 4. You should really make good use of all the facilities because they're just there and you don't have to pay extra for it. You don't have to travel anywhere particularly far to enjoy all these things. I put this as the last point because unfortunately and sad to say that I think generally law students have no time for fun. I remember I was at one of my orientation camps and the seniors were all saying, okay, say bye to so-and-so from law school because you will never see them again, which unfortunately is true because you will have really no time to even breathe during law school. I think it's an impossible trinity. You just have to choose which do you prioritize. You can have a social life, I don't deny. Some people do manage to achieve that, but something has to go. And for those people who have a good social life and good grades, usually their sleep goals or their integrity goals. There are ways and shortcuts to scoring well that may not be the best for your learning. I know in NUS you have the hall life and all that, but if you study in NUS Law, you should note that the halls and all those are in a different campus from the law campus. Honestly, I feel that it defeats the purpose of staying in halls because it's supposed to be convenient, right? You just wake up and you can walk to class. But if your comms are not even within walking distance to your law school, what's the point of staying in hall? You might as well go home. For SMU, the hall life is definitely lacking, but I must say that there are many events in the city, public events as well as SMU organized events. Public events include like festival. So like festival will actually just be around SMU, like, you know, the museums around SMU and the walkway between School of Accountancy and City Hall. It's like the whole area will just be full of lights. It's like there will be certain public events that will just happen to be in that region, so you can just pop by and drop by whenever you have a class. It's really very convenient. And SMU events, I think one of the most memorable event for me was Patrons Day, because I would always go with my friends. They'll give you free coupons or free things basically that you can go and use and enjoy. It's like free food, free games, all on SMU's budget. You don't even have to spend a cent if you don't want to. And they will invite vendors, like food vendors from various places. Some of them are, some businesses are even started by SMU students, SMU alumni. It's just a very vibrant scene. But I know it can get quite annoying if you're actually studying. So actually, the SMU library is just right next to this green grass patch where a lot of events are held. And the events are held there. Sometimes while you're miserably trying to struggle to finish your readings, you can hear like loud music blasting outside. You can hear people enjoying the event. or you're not. I think sometimes you can let loose and you can let your readings go just to enjoy the events. There's also this thing called welfare. Law school I think typically has about 2 welfares in a semester. Welfare is basically when the school feeds you. It will usually be a meal that's on the school's budget. You don't have to pay, you just have to go there and grab free food and just have a good time with your course mates. I'm not even a spokesperson for SMU, but this is really my honest sharing on what I really enjoyed. So SMU CCA is also very haps. There are regular performances like by dance, by Samba, masala. It's like, yeah, you will witness events like this all around the school at different times of the semester. I feel that it's rarely quiet and rarely dull. For law school students, you also have timbre just right next to you. Sometimes I could even hear the music during class. Yeah, one downside of SMU is that there is no canteen. There is a cold food. The food is not fantastic. Good food is generally expensive, but you can access good food around SMU. It's like City Hall, Plaza Sing, even basement. And if you want like cheaper food, you can walk down to Waterloo. Because I didn't get into NUS Law, it's really easy for me to make a decision. I mean, there was really nothing to contemplate about. My straightforward answer is I will go where the scholarship is. And this is regardless of whether money is a consideration, like whether I come from a rich background or poor background. Because I think the scholar identity really does give you a lift in terms of impression. Because you're just now not the average law student. I know in the first place, getting to law school is already a feat and something to be celebrated. But once you're in the law industry, everyone sees every fellow law student as just another law student, because you won't see your fellow student as like, wow, this student is better. No, because you are also exactly from law school, right? Your bosses would have been from law school. But if you are on a scholarship and you are a scholar, then it's like you're one up in that sense, one up. I mean, on a more practical note, is why would you not get a free education if you could? I think I'll go to NUS Law. After all, it is more reputable, because I have considered working overseas, but I'm not sure if my SMU degree would bring me that far. If working overseas is not a factor to be considered, I feel that in Singapore, reputation-wise, it is pretty fair. I think I would have gone with the school that offers me the scholarship. Because if you're doing law, the second degree does not value add that much. It does help you a little in terms of your ability to think in a more versatile way, like you are better, you have some skills that people don't have. So for instance, because of my second degree, I am able to use Excel, and I am generally, I feel, better at calculating stuff. And another thing is impression. I think it also gives your bosses a better impression, like, you know, wow, you managed to finish 2 degrees. But apart from that, there's not much of a value add in terms of legal knowledge or legal skills. If you're thinking of which school is suitable for you, it's not an easy decision to make, but I would like to encourage you by telling you that which school you choose is not be all and end all. It will not determine your career, it will not determine your success as a lawyer. There are many factors that impact how good you end up being as a lawyer and your success. It's good to pray about it and ask God to lead you to where He plans for you to be. I believe that everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses that causes them to be suited for different things. So don't just go to the school that your parents think is better, or your friends think is better, or what other people say is better. Go to a school that you think suits your style of learning as well. Just to end off this topic, if you're just talking about scoring system wise, I feel that if you are the sort of person who doesn't really do well for final exams, or just written assessment in general, SMU will be more suitable for you because of the variety of ways that they assess you. I just hope my sharing helps. If you have any more questions, just leave down in the comments below, and don't forget to click the subscribe button as well. Bye!